Liber Al vel Legis, Chapter 3, Heru. Abra Hadabra. The reward of Ra Hor Cuit. There is division hither homeward. There is a word not known. Spelling is defunct. All is not aught. Beware, hold. Raise the spell of Ra Hor Cuit. Now, let it first be understood that I am a god of war and of vengeance. I shall deal hardly with them. Choose ye an island, fortify it, dung it about with injury of war. I will give you a war engine. With it ye shall smite the peoples, and none shall stand before you. Lurk, withdraw upon them. This is the law of the battle of conquest. Thus shall my worship be about my secret house. Get the stela of revealing itself. Set it in thy secret temple, and that temple is already aright disposed, and it shall be your Qibla forever. It shall not fade, but miraculous color shall come back to it day after day. Close it in locked glass for a proof to the world. This shall be your only proof. I forbid argument. Conquer, that is enough. I will make easy to you that obstruction from the ill-ordered house in the victorious city. Thou shalt thyself convey it with worship, O prophet. Though thou likest it not, thou shalt have danger and trouble. Ra Hor Q is with thee. Worship me with fire and blood. Worship me with swords and with spears. Let the woman be girt with the sword before me. Let blood flow to my name. Trample down the heathen. Be upon them, a warrior. I will give you of their flesh to eat. Sacrifice cattle, little and big, after a child, but not now. Ye shall see that hour, O blessed beast, and thou, the scarlet concubine of his desire. Ye shall be sad thereof. Deem not too eagerly to catch the promises. Fear not to undergo the curses. Ye, even ye, know not this meaning all. Fear not at all. Fear neither men, nor fates, nor gods, nor anything. Money, fear not. Nor laughter of the folk, folly, nor any other power in heaven, or upon the earth, or under the earth. New is your refuge, as Hadit your light. I am the strength, force, vigor of your arms. Mercy, be let off. Damn them who pity, kill and torture, spare not, be upon them. That stela they shall call the abomination of desolation. Count well its name, and it shall be to you as 718. Why? Because of the fall of because, that he is not there again. Set up my image in the east. Thou shalt buy thee an image, which I will show thee, especial, not unlike the one thou knowest, and it shall be suddenly easy for thee to do thus. The other images group around me to support me. Let all be worshipped, for they shall cluster to exalt me. I am the visible object of worship. The others are secret. For the beast and his bride are they, and for the winners of the ordeal X. What is this? Thou shalt know. For perfume, mix meal and honey, and thick leavings of red wine, then oil of abramelon and olive oil, and afterwards soften and smooth down with rich, fresh blood. The best blood is of the moon, monthly. Then the fresh blood of a child, are dropping from the host of heaven, then of enemies, then of the priest or of the worshippers, last of some beast, no matter what. This burn, of this make cakes and eat unto me. This hath also another use. Let it be laid before me and kept thick with perfumes of your horizon. It shall become full of beetles, as it were, and creeping things, sacred unto me. These slay, naming your enemies, and they shall fall before you. Also, these shall breed lust and power of lust in you at the eating thereof. Also, ye shall be strong in war. Moreover, be they long kept, it is better, for they swell with my force, all before me. My altar is of open brasswork, burned thereon, in silver or gold. There cometh a rich man from the west, who shall pour his gold upon thee. From gold forged steel, be ready to fly or to smite. But your holy place shall be untouched throughout the centuries. Though with fire and sword it be burnt down and shattered, yet an invisible house there standeth, and shall stand until the fall of the great equinox, when Rumachus shall arise, and the double-wanted one assume my throne and place. Another prophet shall arise and bring fresh fever from the skies. Another woman shall awaken the lust and worship of the snake. Another soul of God and beast shall mingle in the globed priest. Another sacrifice shall stain the tomb. Another king shall reign, and blessing no longer be poured, the hawk-headed mystical lord. The half of the word of Heru Ra-Ha, called Hor-Pa-Krat and Ra-Hor-Kut. Then said the prophet of the god, I adore thee in song. I am the lord of thieves, and I, the inspired forth speaker of men too, for me unveils the veiled sky, the self-slain Ankh-Af-Na-Khansu, whose words are truth, I invoke. I greet thy presence, O Ra-Hor-Kut, unity, uttermost show. I adore the might of thy breath, supreme and terrible God, who makest the gods and death to tremble before thee. I adore thee. Appear on the throne of Ra, open the ways of the Ku, lighten the ways of the Ka. The ways of the Kabs run through, to stir me or still me, Aum, let it fill me, so that thy light is in me, and its red flame is as a sword in my hand, to push thy order. There is a secret door that I shall make to establish thy way in all the quarters. These are the adorations, as thou hast written, and, as it is said, the light is mine, its rays consume. Me I have made a secret door into the house of Ra and tomb, of Khefra and Ahathor. I am Theban Omentu, the prophet Ankh-Af-Na-Khansu. By Besna mount, my breast I beat, by wise Ta-Nek I weave my spell. Show thy star splendor, O Nuit. Bid me within thine house to dwell, O winged snake of light, Hadit. Abide with me, Ra-Hor-Kut. All this, and a book to say how thou didst come hither, and a reproduction of this ink and paper forever. For in it is the word secret, and not only in the English. And thy comment upon this, the book of the law, shall be printed beautifully in red and black upon beautiful paper made by hand, and to each man and woman that thou meetest, were it but to dine or to drink at them. It is the law to give. Then they shall chance to abide in this bliss or no. It is no odds. Do this quickly. But the work of the comet, that is easy, and Hadit, burning in thy heart, shall make swift and secure thy pin. Establish thy Kaaba, a clerkhouse. All must be done well and with business way. The ordeals thou shalt oversee thyself. Save only the blind ones. Refuse none, but thou shalt know and destroy the traitors. I am Ra-Hor-Kut, and I am powerful to protect my servant. Success is thy proof. Argue not, convert not, talk not overmuch. Them that seek to entrap thee, to overthrow thee, them attack without pity, or quarter and destroy them utterly. Swift as a trodden serpent, turn and strike. Be thou yet deadlier than he. Drag down their souls to awful torment. Laugh at their fears, spit upon them. Let the scarlet woman beware. If pity and compassion and tenderness visit her heart, if she leave my work to toy with old sweetnesses, then shall my vengeance be known. I will slay me her child. I will alienate her heart. I will cast her out from me as a shrinking and despised harlot. She shall crawl through dusk, wet streets and die cold and unhungered. But let her raise herself in pride. Let her follow me in my way. Let her work the work of wickedness. Let her kill her heart. Let her be loud and adulterous. Let her be covered with jewels and rich garments, and let her be shameless before all men. Then I will lift her to pinnacles of power. Then I will breed from her a child mightier than all the kings of the earth. I will fill her with joy. With my force shall she see and strike at the worship of Nu, and she shall achieve Hadit. I am the warrior lord of the 40s. The 80s cower before me and are abased. I will bring you to victory and joy. I will be at your arms in battle, and ye shall delight to slay. Success is your proof. Courage is your armor. Go on in my strength, and ye shall turn not back for any. This book shall be translated into all tongues, but always with the original and the writing of the beast, for in the chance shape of the letters and their position to one another, in these are mysteries that no beast shall divine. Let him not seek to try, but one cometh after him, whence I say not, who shall discover the key of it all. Then this line drawn is a key. Then this circle squared in its failure is a key also. And abrahadabra, it shall be his child, and that strangely. Let him not seek after this, for thereby alone can he fall from it. Now this mystery of the letters is done, and I want to go on to the holier place. I am in a secret fourfold word, the blasphemy against all gods of men. Curse them, curse them, curse them. With my hawk's head, I peck at the eyes of Jesus as he hangs upon the cross. I flap my wings in the face of Muhammad and blind him. With my claws, I tear out the flesh of the Indian and the Buddhist, Mongol, and Din. Balaste, Ampeda, I spit on your crapulous creeds. Let Mary and Violet be torn upon the wheels. For her sake, let all chaste women be utterly despised among you. Also for beauty's sake and love. Despise also all cowards, professional soldiers who dare not fight, but play. All fools despise. But the keen and the proud, the royal and the lofty, ye are brothers. As brothers fight ye. There is no law beyond do what thou wilt. There is an end of the word of the God enthroned in raw seat. Lightning the girders of the soul. To me do ye reverence, to me come ye through the tribulation of ordeal, which is bliss. The fool readeth this book of the law and its comment, and he understandeth it not. Let him come through the first ordeal, and it will be to him as silver, through the second gold, through the third stones of precious water, through the fourth ultimate sparks of the intimate fire. Yet to all it shall seem beautiful. Its enemies who say not so are mere liars. There is success. I am the hawk-headed lord of silence and of strength. My nemesis shrouds the night blue sky. Hail, ye twin warriors, about the pillars of the world, for your time is nigh at hand. I am the lord of the double wand of power, the wand of the force of Kothnia, but my left hand is empty, for I have crushed an universe and naught remains. Pace the sheets from right to left and from top to bottom. Then behold, there is a splendor in my name hidden and glorious, as the sun of midnight is ever the sun. The ending of the words is the word abrahadabra. And so what are your thoughts about this?
Quite a few. First of all, pleasure, pleasure, pleasure. What good is it? and live and let live. Yes and no. You know, some humans feel as if they must be ruled over. Um, but yet the power, you know, there's terrible injustices in this system. You know, corruption has polluted true justice. Because who is fit to rule with true justice? And that's very, very few. It's very few that can be found that's not corrupt, or possible of being corrupted. Also, you know, be your own God. You know, if we have to use the God phrase, I'm not saying that a person is a God, but I'm saying that a person can be powerful, very powerful, if they can find that, you know, within themselves. Being fearless. Being fearless is much better than the most beautiful beauty. Parents teach thy child well. You know, for today's times and today's world is full of corruption and just crazy filled visions of you know, what true wealth is.
Okay, so the comment that we typically get with this, not meaning to interrupt, but okay.
Excuse me.
Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. The study of this book is forbidden. It is wise to destroy this copy after the first reading. Whosoever disregards this does so at his own risk and peril. These are most dire. Those who discuss the contents of this book are to be shunned by all as centers of pestilence. All questions of the law are to be decided only by appeal to my writings, each for himself. There is no law beyond do what thou wilt. Love is the law, love under will. The priest of the princes, Ankh Kansu. So Lon Milo Duquette destroyed his copy when he heard that, because the book kind of worked up. It's like, okay, it's all poetic, and you know, I don't know if this. I don't mean to be offensive about that, but he's like, oh, I'm sort of a hippie and all. So drugs and free love and all that's okay. I can get down with that. It's like, oh, well, this is kind of mysterious and it's not so nice anymore. Then it's all like cursing people and all this other stuff and pecking eyes at you. It really is an evil book. They were right. Crowley is a Satanist and tries to set the book on fire. He's like, wait, my values were to not destroy a book, and this book got me to do it. And there's something magical about the way that it was kind of trying to direct things. And
you know, we don't really know if that was the true copy of the book. I mean, for a book to, you know, for him to say destroy this after you read it, you know, how do we know that this, what we read nowadays, how do we know that was
well, they have the original there, and so the okay, so there's different comments to that, and so that what we went over today was, aside from the comment, because they usually just they read it all, and then if you want to talk about it, you can talk about it. If you don't want to talk about it, whatever.
Right.
So abracadabra is kind of, you know, sort of the abracadabra of that thing, but it's 11 letters, and it's odd because it's in 11 letters. What verse did they have the phrase? You know, that phrase that I introduced you to, but I came up with the version because I thought it's got to be something. It's got to be something more Greek, right?
Right. I remember, and this was from my childhood. I can't remember exactly, but it may even been a Scooby-Doo episode where I first heard that term abracadabra. Like I said, it could have
Well, he
been
creates as he speaks,
cartoon.
but you're throwing in so Bohlasti Peta, spit
Mhm.
on your crapulous creeds, which, you know, I kind of connected to the ekas,
Uh-huh.
esta, bebhaloi, you know, away, every profane. And then I continue it with blasta, ompha, de.
Can't read my writing.
So it descends from divine speech further, is what I render out of that. And I don't know if anybody's done as, I don't know, somebody probably, I think that comes out, you know, it descends from divine speech.
Mm-hmm.
Its origin is in divine speech. I think that's a very good magical formula, because, like, for example, some of the stuff I do ritually, it's like I connect it to claims of revelation and inspiration. I connect it to my own dreams and stuff like this. It's so I'm not just, I try not to just merely make up a ritual, just wander around in the dark and that sort of thing. Like,
Right.
so I try to connect it to stuff. And so we saw in this the comment, the obviously the idea is that somebody
Right. And you know, it's like the thing about your rituals, which, you know, I follow along with you. And it's like real spiritual things actually happen, you know, and that is, I mean, that's just fascinating to me how you bring that out in people. So
so when we're
I
commenting
had
about
to give you
Crowley, we
compliment.
gotta think this about in Crowley's context. Okay,
Right.
not everything about Crowley was pleasing. You got to admit that, you know, crapping on people's carpets, biting people without permission, dying of a drug overdose, and talking your wife into prostituting herself so you can afford more drugs.
It's war,
Uh,
murder.
calling on your, you know,
Anyway,
convincing your women to have sex with animals so you can do the animal sacrifice in the middle of them having sex with the animals. That I'm sorry, I'm not going to make excuses for what Crowley did in that regard.
right,
I'm not going to make
right on.
excuses for some of his psychological and other traumatizing to people. I know he was
Right,
traumatized in boarding school, but um, you don't have to pass it on in one way or another.
exactly.
Um,
Yeah, exactly. Well said.
and some of the stuff too. It's like, okay,
A lot of people
because
nowadays,
back in the day, one of the things that happens in Crowley writings is you couldn't talk about other religions. You can talk. It's like people like, no. If you actually read what's even the Bible says about sexuality, there's a lot of stuff about uh, ritual use of sex and
mhm,
sensual experience and stuff like this buried in the Quran's not doesn't have this abrogation where like you take off the natural man and all that sort of stuff. But even the Bible where it does, it still has that stuff. The
yeah,
Song of Solomon isn't the only place where it gets a bit too
mhm,
graphic. Now, some of it,
I
that thing in the book of Ezekiel, whatever
agree.
sicko put that thing in the book of Ezekiel, if you know what I'm talking about, I don't, I'm not sure if I want to share that part here, but yeah, there's
Right,
this part in Ezekiel that makes you think of that one stream, that one person's live stream that we saw, and it goes further than that. It goes further than what those people were saying about their neighbors' farms. It's like no.
yeah,
So one thing that
exactly.
stood apart, I'm going to try to find the verse.
It's thick. You know what I'm
But
saying?
one thing that stood out is so the 40s, something about the 40s. Now, you know, look at of course, as I said before, there's stuff that people find in regards to the letters. So the page 60, um,
60.
it crosses over A, F, B, you know, so there's possibly like some sort of code right
Mm-hmm.
there that he noticed. So we're seeing this page attached to under 46. I'm not going to stop and try to figure that out. Um, but so remember there was that verse that was talking about stuff that's going to happen in the 30s. in the 40s.
Right.
And then it talks about the 80s. And look at what's happening right now. They are targeting those born in the 1980s. I don't think necessarily you can have to take this stuff as a prophecy or that it was meant to be a prophecy. But look at what's happening right now. It's what happens. The people
Like a
born from the
blueprint.
80s onwards, they're pushing on them the same sort of fascism. They're making them the same sort of victims of fascism as was going on with the back in the 40s with the World War II and the bombs and stuff like this.
And the word victim, that right there, it brings my mind to think about, all this victim mentality. It's almost like social media pushes people into thinking of victim mentality.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a victim. Don't be a victim, be a survivor. I mean, that's my motto.
Well, what they're pushing them towards is
And
always wanting
many
to
other
you want to
things.
be offended and
I
oppressed
know.
and stuff, whether you are or not, and that's messed up in the head.
Right.
Why would you want to be
Very,
oppressed just for its own sake,
very.
right?
And the sad part is that a lot of people are falling for it. It's like they can't think, wow, what's going on here? It's kind of pathetic.
Um,
There's like a generation being.
and sometimes, so there's a system of society, and the system of society, when it changes to the system of society, you don't have to convince. But the thing is, you've more solidly convinced. What happened with what happened with the Catholic Church? The Catholic Church, they ended up with over 10,000 saints because they went around trying to conquer every group of people they could possibly conquer. And so the old rituals got moved about, they got changed a little bit and included as if they were Catholic. Now, Crowley per se is offering it to whatever. So there's this personal thing, and if you personally take on whatever. Now see, that's one of the things about this book too. Let's take him at his word that they had this experience doing this ritual in the Great Pyramid, and then they came forward and they went in their hotel room. It's like, okay, for 3 days in a row, around the middle of the day, I think it was. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, or what, but anyways, for the 8th, 9th, and 10th of April of that year, 1904, they heard the voice. So he heard the voice. His wife didn't know Arab. His wife didn't know languages and stuff as well as Crowley did. So there was some issues with that. I will take there could have been issues with the transmission, writing things down and stuff. And why was this part not in the manuscript? Well, it's we might have lost a page or something, whatever. What did those, who were those voices? And the way that some of these things are put, you kind of wonder, and why wouldn't you want things so clear that if it was got right, that it doesn't have the crookedness, that if people get some of this stuff wrong, there could be some very serious consequences if people get some of this stuff wrong that's not supposed to be understood. They're like, oh, well, the whys that are studied in all these things that I've studied in are all these things that you're studied in.
Yeah. Right.
Because see, the blood of a child. I mean, what's the limits of that, right?
Right. Right.
And
right.
One of the things that most mythologies will narrow things down on for you is that you have the animal sacrifice isn't just because of some deity that's bloodthirsty or something.
Right. And why is it that people think that like sacrifice equals power? I don't understand that. Is that only for the people who really haven't experienced true power?
Well, there's the power of experience with it, but that's not the point. It's sacrifice, and it's not, that's what it's supposed to be. Is it's supposed to be sacrifice? It's supposed to be an act of obedience, a sense of connecting and actually filling in a gap that you know what the gap is, or you have a sense of what the gap is. That's what it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be that sort of thing. So you notice one of the things here is that you kind of get the implication you don't want to join into a Gnostic mass or whatever unless it's an established group for a while that has put the remnant of years of magical cakes into the other, a fresh group that is, you don't want the first batch where you can actually see when you can actually see the blood and stuff in the cakes of light, that you can actually tell where the blood was, or you can tell that it's not just wheat and honey.
Well said.
And obviously, see, so maybe they have to start privately before they can be publicly listed because of the law, because you can't handle you can't cook with human blood in your sacrament, I don't think. It's our religion, we it's like, no. And so this Stela 666, it's in the background. My background right there is Stela 666. And Crowley had one painted for himself. And the interesting thing is some of the photographs over the years have gotten more colorful. Like somehow it's gotten more colorful. Now I know, for example, peacock ore and some other stuff can gain a little color through the years. So I don't know what the deal is, why it would be more colorful, because that's a weird thing. But that turns out to be a little bit true, because someone said they've if you leave it for about 20 years and you compare the pictures, you can notice a difference visually.
Interesting.
And well, it's not whatever fierce forms, the idea of that, right? So whatever fierce forms, you got to be in the midst of that. If that's what's going on, that's definitely the things. But see, are they trampled just because they're not of the same faith? No, that's another thing people misunderstand right there towards the beginning of this chapter. Right. And magical numbers, you can come up with different things. Of course, Crowley made clear what some of this stuff is. So the book of Revelations and the book of Daniel's kind of refers to some stuff.
Daniel is a lot like Revelation, in the aspect of being quote unquote prophetic.
Well, it's apocalyptic, so it's supposed to be prophetic, but it's apocalyptic. So that's not quite the same thing as people like to think it is. It's actually talking about what's going on right now. And the book of Daniel is a rewrite from something 1,500 years before, and 1,000 years before. So the earliest Jewish version of Daniel is 1,000 years later than another text, and that seems to be part of an older tradition. So it's really the Jews rewrote a lot of things, but Crowley was very heavily influenced by the book of Revelation in particular. So a lot of stuff comes through like he saw himself as sort of bringing forth the new age, like that sort of figure. And he, as time went on, his experiences backed that up for him and strengthened his resolve in going forward with all that. And honestly, of his time, who can mention a more influential religious figure in the past since Aleister Crowley than Aleister Crowley?
Right.
There was that one guy of the Muslim Brotherhood. They thought if he hadn't have been murdered, that he could have possibly united half the world. So that guy, so the one guy, he could have possibly united half the world, and he could have been more influential, but he died. So I think Crowley's influence has been more solid because, now more people paid money for Billy Graham and all that, but what is the thing? It's like, I'm not worthy. Jesus makes up for the rest. So it wasn't that they drove their character. To see, accomplish things, don't worry about arguing, accomplish things. That's what comes through. And sometimes it requires some harshness. I don't think one has to be blasphemous, but and people realize, now killing your heart, okay, you need to change, sometimes you need to change your emotional response to things, but killing one's heart is another phrase that kind of comes off the things. And sometimes the way he talks is, see, like he talked about his wife, his faithful wife, Rose. Like there wasn't any issue with Rose during the entire marriage, I don't think, as far as her behavior and stuff. And she talked about her like she was just another one of the prostitutes, and that was like some poetic, romantic thing to her, but it probably wasn't to her. That may have been it may have been part of what the issue was. And
even me, I'm working on killing, well, not killing, but kind of calming down on my emotional responses to things, because
well, because
I get a little bit.
definitely, well, now
So yeah, that's
society is designed
yeah.
to. So I'm reading this commentary by well, I'm going to read the commentary later, but I have this Ahmed Halusi commentary, and they talk about triggering. But see, it's not the triggering that they're talking about, like, oh, I was triggered. It's like, well, what are you going to do about it? So it's the other. So you're triggered by the spiritual passages, by the spiritual principles, and by using those divine names. This thing, it'd be good to look through the book of the law and understand it is formulaic in terms of the names that it mentions. Qibla is both the direction, it's the root word for, it's the same root as Kabbalah. It's the same, you orient yourself, and it's not just orienting yourself facing a direction in ritual, it's some other stuff too. But so you look at these names, so you trigger yourself with these things, you evoke yourself by using this appropriate name for this and this for that, and all that other stuff, and then then stuff comes through.
Yeah.
And so instead of being triggered as far as being randomly set off, mental illness even by society and by the media and all that other stuff, you kind of work outside that. It's like, as I said, the noctulian mode is not that you have that you no longer have emotions, that you no longer have any of that other stuff. It's that you're not in it for itself. It has something greater, a sort of a causal, sort of void, or whatever sort of connection to it.
Right on.
And so yeah, if anybody has wealth that they put into the cause, into whatever cause, it's not just, okay, there's war, and Crowley, he did take a side with when it came to World War II and stuff like that. Oh, and the snake. Okay, the snake is like the Kundalini, so the rising, another soul of God and beast. So Pan, Venus, Dionysus. Yeah, a lot of mythologies when work together, different parts of the soul, the ways of the shadows. So the shadow